"This is going to be our home now," Kevin said, his tone final. "The rest of the stuff will arrive today, so please make sure everything is in place." I stared at him, feeling the weight of his words sinking in. "Why are you deciding this on your own?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. This wasn't something we had discussed, not even once. "Oh, and by the way," he continued as if he hadn't heard me, "Anna's coming too. Please welcome her." Anna? My mind raced. Kevin's older sister had always been distant, and now she was coming here. Our new home? Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Ever since we moved into this high-rise condo, his family had been visiting more often, but this was different. It was bold, sudden. It felt like an invasion. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but I had to know. The moment Kevin came home from work, I confronted him. "Your mother and her family, they're moving in with us?" My voice was low, controlled, but the tension hung thick in the air. "Oh yeah, that's today," he replied with a nonchalant laugh. "Didn't I mention it?" His laughter made my skin crawl. How could he be so casual about something so monumental? I felt my chest tighten with disbelief. "No, you didn't," I said, my words sharp and fast. "And why would you make this decision without me?" Kevin shrugged, the smile never leaving his face. "Don't make such a big deal out of it. We'll adjust." Adjust? I could barely breathe. This was our home, a place that was supposed to be our sanctuary. And now, it felt like I was being pushed aside, as if my opinion didn't matter. "Don't just stand there," Kevin said, brushing off my concerns. "Start dinner. We're celebrating tonight." As I moved around the kitchen, anger bubbled beneath the surface. How could he decide something so huge without me? This was supposed to be a fresh start, a place for us to build a life together. But now, it felt like the walls were closing in. The doorbell rang, and when I opened it, there she was, Kevin's mother. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "If you hate living together so much, why don't you just leave?" she said, her voice laced with contempt. Before I could respond, she tossed an envelope onto the table. "What's this?" I asked, my heart pounding. "It's severance money," she replied with a sneer. $10,000. Take it, get divorced, and leave. We'll take the house." I stared at the envelope, the weight of their plan hitting me all at once. They wanted me gone. They had been planning this from the moment we moved in. I looked at Kevin, hoping, praying, for some sign of regret or hesitation. But he just stood there, a smug smile on his face. That's when I knew. I wasn't just losing the condo. I was losing the man I thought I loved, but I wasn't going to go down without a fight. I grabbed the envelope, feeling the crisp bills inside. $10,000 to leave my life behind? They thought I'd just walk away. But they didn't know what I was capable of. "Fine," I said, my voice calm, almost too calm. "I'll leave, but don't think this is over." Kevin and his mother exchanged glances, their smug smiles growing wider. They thought they'd won. But in reality, I had already begun plotting my revenge. I packed my bags quickly, almost laughing at how eager they were to see me go. As I walked out the door, my heart raced. Not with fear, but with excitement. They had no idea what was coming next. I went straight to my father's house, my mind already piecing together the perfect plan. My father owned the high-rise condo we lived in. He had let us stay there rent-free, as a wedding gift of sorts. And now, Kevin and his family thought they could just take over? Not on my watch. When I arrived at my father's house, he could tell something was wrong. "Sarah, what's going on?" he asked, concern etched on his face. I took a deep breath and told him everything, about Kevin's betrayal, his family's plan to move in, and the envelope of money they had given me to leave. My father's face darkened with anger. "They think they can just take over my property?" he asked, his voice rising. "We'll kick them out immediately." "Wait," I said, a slow smile spreading across my face. "I have a better idea." My father raised an eyebrow, intrigued. What do you have in mind? I laid out my plan, and as I spoke, his anger melted into admiration. You always were the smart one, he said with a chuckle. Let's do it. The next day, I called Kevin. About the condo, I said, keeping my voice steady. I've decided not to fight you on it. I'm going to transfer the ownership to you, then it'll truly be yours. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. You're serious? He asked, disbelief coloring his words. Yes, I replied. I don't want any trouble. I'll take care of the paperwork. You don't have to worry about anything. Wow, Sarah, Kevin said, his voice bright with relief. Thank you. I didn't expect this. I hung up the phone, logically unable to contain my grin. He had no idea that the real trouble was just beginning. A week later, the paperwork was finalized. Kevin and his family officially owned the condo. They thought they had won. They thought they were free. But then the first bill arrived. Hey, Sarah. Kevin's voice was shaky when he called me. We just got a bill for $6,000. What's going on? It's the rent, I said, barely hiding my amusement. Living in a high-rise condo isn't cheap, you know. But we didn't have to pay rent before? He shouted. Of course not, I replied, my voice cool and calm. When I lived there, the rent was covered. But now that you own the condo, you have to pay. Kevin was silent for a long moment. We can't afford that, he said finally, his voice barely a whisper. That's not my problem, I said with a shrug, even though he couldn't see me. You wanted the condo. Now it's yours. A few days later, I received another call, this time from Kevin's mother. We can't pay this rent, she said, her voice shaking with barely concealed rage. You need to fix this. I don't need to do anything, I replied, enjoying the power shift. You're the ones who wanted the condo. Now it's your responsibility. You're a horrible person, she spat. We're family. No, I said, my voice cold. We're not. You made sure of that when you tried to push me out. She hung up the phone, and I could practically hear the panic in her silence. As the weeks passed, the bills piled up. Kevin and his family couldn't keep up with the payments, and soon they were drowning in debt. Every time they called, I let it go to voicemail. I didn't need to hear their excuses. Finally, they were forced to move out. The high-rise condo that they had so eagerly claimed was now empty, and they had nothing to show for it. They lost everything, just as I had planned. But I wasn't done yet. One day, while I was going through my mail, I noticed something strange. A credit card statement, one I didn't recognize. As I looked closer, I realized what had happened. Kevin and his family had been using a credit card in my name, racking up thousands of dollars in debt. I could have let it slide. But where would the fun be in that? Instead, I hired a lawyer and filed a lawsuit. It didn't take long for Kevin and his family to realize they were in even deeper trouble than they thought. Not only were they being evicted from the condo, but now they were being sued for credit card fraud. The court case was swift. The evidence was undeniable. Kevin and his family were ordered to pay back every penny they had stolen, plus damages. They were left with nothing, no home, no money, and no way to rebuild their lives. And I got the condo back. My father, ever the generous man, transferred the ownership back to me once the dust had settled. I moved back in, this time without Kevin or his toxic family hanging over me. As I stood on the balcony of my high-rise condo, looking out over the city, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. I had been through hell, but I had come out stronger on the other side. Kevin and his family were nothing more than a bad memory now. They had tried to break me, but in the end, they had only destroyed themselves. And me? I was free. Free to live my life on my terms, without anyone else holding me back. As the sun set on the horizon, I smiled to myself, knowing that this was truly a new beginning.